Scratch babble.
Alright, gonna try it. SW Motech crash bars. I'm not gonna film the whole thing. I think I got everything. Anyway, I'm not gonna film the whole thing. I'm gonna use some of the videos on YouTube, and then I'll just check back in and let you know what did and didn't work, and anything I found that made it simpler, besides coffee, beer, 4-letter words, and about 18 hours, hopefully less. See you in a bit. Just wanted to jump in real quick here and say a quick FU to Kawasaki. That bracket down there with the 2 bolts, the crash bars are on, all right? That was a bitch getting on because the original fit was a little sloppy, so they just tightened down to make up for it. Well, there are these washer slash grommets and then another set of grommets that go in there and make the tolerances a lot tighter. So what should have been in and out and was with one bolt, the other bolt just was hell. But the real hell has to do with getting this damn fairing back on, lining everything up. Oh, it goes past the crash bar fine. It's not that. It's the convoluted system that Kawasaki has for this left fairing. You've got to come up through the, you got to come up through the radiator guard, go through that little bracket, and then up into the fairing. And you see that little grommet there? It popped out, or was never, I've taken these fairings off like 5 times now, and this one, the radiator fairing, it kicks my ass. So just trying to mess with this and get this to line up right, and there is one other problem. It's not a problem, it's just finessing. There's not much clearance on that bar to get to that bolt for the bottom part of the front fairing. Nonetheless, lining it all up is like playing, I don't even know what to compare it to. Anyway, so I probably would have had these done in 2 hours, really close. I was at 1 hour and 45 minutes when I started putting the fairings back on. And I've been doing this now for 45 freaking minutes. I'll check back. Alright, so here's the final countdown. There they are, they're on. The Motech crash bars are on. And I gotta say, these things are really well made, and I went with them because of that. They look real sturdy, they are real sturdy, and because of the rubber grommets that should help with some vibration dampening. So I'm going to break this whole install on a beer scale of difficulty. Overall, once you get the bike stripped down, putting the crash bars on, getting them seated with the hardware and the instructions, it's 1 beer. It's just 1 beer. Even the instructions that don't really have any words, the pictures are really easy. They all make complete sense, and it's like putting together something from IKEA, only a hair easier. However, a couple of problems that I ran into had to do with the alignment on the Kawasaki, on this bracket. Right there, see where those 2 bolts are going in? Alright, it goes through a bracket. That's the Cowie bracket. And on the, not this side, but the other side, one of the bolts was a biatch to get to go through. And it was because Cowie had some slop in their tolerances, but when you put the metal grommets in on each side of the crash bar mounts there, you know, the tolerance becomes a little less. So it took a little finagling, but not too bad. So I'm still going to give it a 1 beer, even with that from Kawasaki. However, trying to get this fairing back on, which I had to take off, I see On the video I'm going to tag in here, you won't be able to see it because of the sun. On the video I'm going to tag about the install that I watched, he doesn't go through the reinstalling of the fairings, because we've all taken fairings on and off several times, and we, at least on mine, the radiator side is always a pain in the ass getting them lined up. But it was made even harder by that bar being just in the way of that, so you have to try to finger tighten in nano increments when you get it lined up. And then lining up the top pieces was a complete bitch. And there's a grommet in there, which I mentioned earlier, showed you earlier. So at an hour 45 after taking everything off, laying it out neatly, then opening the parts bag and laying out the parts on the instructions by their parts number and listing, doing the install, having the bars installed, and ready to put everything back on. Took about an hour and 45. Took a coffee break, took a smoke break, was in no rush. So an hour 45. I figured 15 minutes to put the fairings back on. At least that left fairing. At crappy negative, that was an additional hour and 10 minutes. So, Motech install difficulty, just the crash bars itself, 1 beer. Trying to put the damn thing back together, 5 beers. Profanity scale of difficulty, 4 beers. I let loose about 5 times really good. I'd say that's 4 beer. Frustration beer of difficulty, that was 5. All of this has to do with putting that fairing back on. If there's any way, and in the video I saw, they don't remove that fairing. But I had trouble being able to prop my gas tank up high enough to reach the frame bolt, because my fuel line was just too tight. So I ended up having to disconnect the fuel line and take that fairing off so I could get the tank high enough, propped high enough. That's the only reason I did it. If I had it to do all over again, I would have taken the fairings off, and I would have taken the tank off like I've done for darn near every other little thing I've done, and just had the wide open canvas. The choice is yours. The only other thing is, it took a minute to figure out how to get the fairing back on with the bar there. It actually is easy once you figure it out. However, it took me a couple of attempts to figure it out, and those scratches are the casualty. So there they are, SW Motech crash bars. They look the same on the other side. No need to go around there. I did move the shift lever up a notch. It gave me a little more clearance on the clamp down there, but mostly I did it because I needed to raise it a notch anyway after I put the new foot pegs on. So that's it. I would recommend don't drink before you do this. I didn't, but I'm going to enjoy one now. Cheers. Ermagerd. Epilogue. Going for a test drive. I was backing the bike out of the garage like I've done 100 times in between these two cars. I don't know if it was because I was excited to get on the bike with the crash bars, or I'm tired, which it could be that. Anyway, I was too close to my truck. Made it down towards the rear tire, and I just couldn't seem to get away from the truck. Tried to cut backwards back there by my rear bumper and cut it out into the road. Bike was leaning, and I just couldn't hold it. And it went down. Backing out of the driveway for my first test drive with the crash bars. So if you remember, it'll take a minute to adjust here to the new light. If you remember, I got these at the very beginning and mentioned that there was a blemish, which I just thought I'd touch up with a Sharpie. That came like that from Revzilla, that's why I got some cash off on it. However, that one and that one are mine and fresh. But the plastics are fine. I guess there's nothing like testing out crash bars in the first 30 seconds you try them out. Have a nice day.